Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening, excuse me, the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. I'm back, baby. Almost at 100%. Quite there, but I'm getting there. Feeling much better today. Thank you all for asking. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Welcome to the show. It's time to rock and roll. Let's get the show on the road. We're going to talk this morning about polls showing Donald Trump underwater in key swing states. Who's voting for these guys, Walz and Harris? We're going to talk about that this morning at the top of the show. But before we do, I've got another special story that's just going to put a smile on your face and make you laugh, because I just don't want to start Monday on a sour note. Do you? Let's talk about that Australian Olympic break dancer who got 0 points. If you haven't seen the video, I've got maybe 12 or 13 different clips that'll show you and start your day off right. We're all going to have a laugh this morning at Australian dancer Ray Gunn. That's Professor Ray Gunn to you. We're going to talk this morning about an Olympic viral meme of a woman who went breakdancing, decided to put herself to show her ass. Not literally. That would have probably gotten her at least a point. To the world, and has become a meme after her break dance earned 0 points at the Olympics. I've got the clips. We're going to start off the show with that because that's way more fun and way more funny, and I just don't want to be in a bad mood, especially when you're reading the polls and you're like, just like Kermode Bear was saying, like, who is voting for these people? So we'll start the show this morning with something a little bit more fun and a little bit more funny. Did you see the video of the Secret Service picking the lock of a Massachusetts salon owner's store, showing that breaking into her business to use the bathroom and then tampering with the security camera equipment? There's a picture of one of the Secret Service agents literally like doing the thing like it's a movie, where it's like Stephanie and I were watching because she'd never seen the movie Half Baked last night with Dave Chappelle, the old stoner comedy. But it kind of reminds you of a movie like that, where they're like, whoa, man, they could see us here. Let's just put something over the security camera, as they look directly into the security camera. Well, I've got the story there for you this morning, and we'll play it and talk about that. Because I was out most of the week last week for illness, I didn't have time to do a deep dive into the VP pick of Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, last week. So I'm bringing on a guest this morning from Minnesota to talk to you. Jake Duesenberg will be joining us this morning at 8 a.m. Central. Minnesota man and a podcaster is going to be talking to us this morning about his governor, Tim Walz, and why he's a much further left progressive than the media would like us to paint. I like this to believe. I like the story that I saw, the headline from the Babylon Bee, where they says Kamala Harris running against Kamala Harris because she's completely changed everything that she ran for office on before. And now she's disavowing it, things like Medicare for all. Did you see, by the way, that she stole the idea of no taxes on tips from, well, not Donald Trump, because guess what? Donald Trump also stole that idea. Thank you. Donald Trump also stole that idea from Ron Paul. That's right. It was a Ron Paul idea first. Y'all steal from, listen, if you want to steal from more ideas from Ron Paul, it's great. Just, it's nice to see that more people are starting to be influenced by the good Dr. Paul. I was Dr. Paul before it was cool. The only people who get to claim that they were Dr. Paul before Dr. Paul was cool and one up me were the people who were with Dr. Paul in 1988.
How dare you?
You're way cooler, but that's it. So we're going to speak to Jake Duesenberg this morning about that, all that and more. Also, I've got an article that I wanted to share with you from the Wall Street Journal about the housing crisis. Boomers buying houses had it bad in the 1980s because of the mortgage interest rates at the time, but millennials have it worse. Today's housing market is the most difficult in decades, a great frustration for millennials and Gen Zers looking for a starter home. Baby boomers can relate, but they didn't go through, they're not going through what millennials, people my age, are going through right now. And Stephanie and I, we were just kind of for fun looking at houses in a different neighborhood on Zillow yesterday, and because we hadn't done it since we bought our house. I mean, we got the mortgage rate locked in, and I think it was like 3.2 back in 2020, I think 2021, something like that. And now it's kind of like with that rate and what we're paying on our mortgage, it almost doesn't make any sense to move maybe ever again. When you look at the home prices now and how overinflated they seem to be, and with the interest rates, I know that there's talk about the Federal Reserve potentially lowering rates this year, but even if they do, they're not going to lower it to 3.2. So it's like, here's the thing. Thank God we bought a house when we did. Can you imagine if we had waited? I know a lot of people probably thought, it's no big deal. I'll just wait. Mortgage rates will always be low. Molly, you in danger, girl, because I don't see us ever having a situation like we did with the pandemic again. So if you didn't buy a house when the house getting was good, don't know if that's going to happen for you, Chief. But anyways, all right. So let's start off the show with a little bit of fun and a little bit of funny. Are you ready? Or should we have some fun? These damn flies. Yes, if you're watching the show live, then you can see that there are flies all over the place. I saw one of those commercials for one of those bug assault guns. If any of you out there have one of those and want to like give me a review, I would be really glad to hear about it. Has anybody used those to great effect? The new one has like a laser sight on it. So I kind of want to get the new one, but I haven't decided yet. Don't forget to click the like button. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, and you haven't been here before, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. The show's schedule is every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, 2-hour live show. Great way to start your day. So make sure that you click the follow button before you leave the show today. Come back and join us regularly. Thank you, Mighty Megatron, for the $2 donation. We appreciate that. Starting towards the bonus content, we're doing something a little bit different with the bonus content this week. I'm starting a bit of a what I think will be a new trend, and you will see it once you unlock today's bonus content. If you unlock today's bonus content, if we raise at least $60 in either donations or in purchases at forlibertyshop.com by the end of the show, today's bonus content is going to be something a little bit different, and I think I'm going to work on this trend for a little while for the bonus content. So once you unlock it, then I'll explain what I plan to be doing with the bonus content going forward, but you have to unlock the bonus content to see what it is. You have to unlock the bonus content to find out what's in it. So get those Rumble Rant donations in early and often today so you can watch those instead of boring commercials before we go to our breaks to get our guests on the show today. What do you say? Can you do that? Okay. Thank you, Mighty Megatron, who said in his Rumble Rant that Dr. Ray Gun reminded me of when you step on a cockroach the first time and it's not dead yet, just circling around on its broken legs. Oh. Okay, well, I guess we have to show the video now. First, let's show, this is actually a remix of, this is my remix reel. So the Babylon Bee did a video lampooning it. So this is obviously not her saying this is somebody's commentary over it. And then you'll see me at the end of that video offering my commentary. This is my Instagram reel remix of the Babylon Bees version of this. Watch this.
So imagine you from Australia and you done lied on your Olympics application and said that you knew how to break dance. You seen some old 80s highlights and said, I could do that. Now you on the world stage with a golf outfit on, hyping yourself up in your head talking about toe tap, hit him with the spin, climbing in the circle, hands on my chin. Bunny, rabbit, kangaroo, one of those two. I got moves, so what you gonna do? I'm a worm, y'all.
The person that you're watching do this in this video and debase herself is an Australian professor who actually wrote her thesis in breakdancing. Deterritorializing gender in Sydney's breakdancing scene, a B-girl's experience of B-boying.
Yeah, so she has become a meme. Ray Gun, that's Dr. Ray Gun to you. Rachel Gunn didn't take home a medal, but her bizarre breakdancing performance may never be forgotten. The Australian breakdancer, which used those terms maybe in quotes, went viral after she failed to secure a single point in the inaugural breaking competition last Friday. She busted out moves as she spun on her head, threw her arms in the air like a windmill, rolled around on her shoulders, and reached for her toes while lying on her side. It reminds me a little bit of like what little kids do when they're trying to impress their parents and then they just like spaz out, right? Or like, what was that sketch, oh my God, from Mad TV when Stewart would be like, hey, look what I can do. Look what I can do, huh? Right? Does it remind you a little bit of Stewart from Mad TV? According to fans, the 36-year-old dancer's most memorable move might have been her kangaroo hop, which saw her jumping like the beloved Australian animal. Is that what that was? She says, I was never going to beat these girls on what they do best. Their power moves, she says. What I bring is creativity. Oh, yes, creativity. Yes. So people were comparing it to the actress Julia Stiles' moves in the 2001 film Save the Last Dance. But I also would be remiss if I did not mention Elaine Seinfeld's dancing. from the TV show Seinfeld. Remember that? So one person on X says, I want Reagan, the 36-year-old Australian breakdancer possessed by the spirit of Julia Stiles, to know I am now her biggest fan in the world and she should stop doing whatever it is she's trying to do. Others actually refuse to believe that her performance was legit. If this Reagan lady turns out to be a comedian who somehow blagged her way through qualifiers and all the way to the Olympics and was this bad on purpose, it will be one of the greatest bits ever achieved. Okay, so hold on. Let's see this again here. Let me pull this up. This is, so this is, just so you know, well, everybody wasn't that bad. So here are some actual breakdancers at the Paris Olympics. You could see this is what breakdancing is supposed to look like, if you didn't know. But these were the B-boys, right? Remember, her whole shtick, or actually her thesis that she wrote to get her doctorate, was deterritorializing breakdancing, right? Being a B girl in a B boy world, which I like the fact that my brother pointed out, by the way, over here on the Instagram reel that I posted showing this. He says, how is this not, where's Justin's comment? Here he goes. By her own standards, how is she not appropriating culture? Completely agree. Said the cat, I feel like this is what a 4-year-old would do if you told them to make up a dance. I like Big Angry Law's comment. Last place, her words, but I got an A++ with this routine for my gender studies in dance course. Yes. It's funny, but it's also kind of true, right? Because God Saad, he called it out, saying, hear me out. This dancer holds a PhD in one of those postmodernist disciplines. I bet you she will write a few academic papers that have titles similar to these. An autoethnography of my dancing in Paris, a deconstruction of the praxis of my movements, Olympic breakdance as a form of breaking the patriarchy, the logos of my subdialectic fusion. I dance, an exploration of my queer identity through the surrealism of feminist glaciology. That people do write their thesis that are things like this, but her thesis was deterritorializing breakdancing. You actually got a doctor. People are going to have to call her doctor. She's going to force people to call her doctor after writing that thesis. Lesbian dance as a rejection of the ableism of the Olympic podium. I reject my whiteness by breakdancing. That's a really good one. She will receive tenure and will be hailed as a genius of the praxis of dancing. Look at this.
Okay, guys, an important part about being a performer is being able to express yourself through movement, being able to move your body to convey a message, to get something across.
She literally did the windmill. She did this windmill. It was like this.
To get something across.
Watch. God, this is a great way to start the morning, isn't it? Another great way to start the morning. Don't forget to click that like button if you're enjoying yourself. We're having a lot of fun so far. That was the kangaroo hop right there, that famous kangaroo hop. Give it up, Reagan. This is a grown woman. I'll give it to her. She can stand on her head, at least, I guess. So you can go that far, right? So, oh no, they took it down. Oh, they're getting mad. The ray gun has fans all over the world. Her breaking performance representing Australia really hit a nerve. Yeah. So there was somebody who was doing a really good parody of it, and it got taken down just this morning. Oh, now here we go. Now here is she. Is someone defending her. They're getting very serious now and upset about the fact that people around the world are clowning on someone in a profession, by the way, that has clowning attached to it as part of it.
What I can say is that I love Rachel, and I think
I love Rachel very intimately, and when people say mean things, it makes me want to report them to the authorities and send them to the camps.
That what has occurred on social media with trolls and keyboard warriors and taking those comments and
Bro, like at this point, don't call me a keyboard warrior, okay? I could literally dance better than her. I could definitely, you give me like 6 hours of training in that dance. I promise you that I could pull off a much more meaningful performance on this. This is not keyboard warrioring, okay? Now, admittedly, I do have a little bit of a background in doing some dance in the arts. But that being said, almost anybody could do better than Rachel Ray Gunn at the Olympics. I love Rachel Mayers.
With trolls and keyboard warriors and taking those comments and giving them airtime has been really disappointing. If you don't know Rachel's story,
If you don't know, you're not supposed to give airtime to things that make me look bad when I act like an idiot in front of millions of people. You're not supposed to do that. Whenever I act like a fucking idiot and then I show my stupidity to the world and put it on camera, you're not supposed to comment on that. You're not supposed to mention it at all, actually. Really, it's quite hostile. It's your fault for looking at my terrible performance. If you don't think everything I do is absolutely perfect, then something's wrong with you. Quite frankly, yes, it's your problem now. I made it your problem now. Yes, quite frankly.
In 2008, she was locked in a room crying, being involved in a male-dominated sport as the only woman, and it took great courage for her to continue on. And
Dad Bod Baboon, perfect comment, says, if you love Rachel so much, why didn't you stop her from embarrassing your entire continent? Thank you. Yes, that's the thing. It's like, trust me, as somebody who's like, my background is in show business, the people who don't love you tell you you're amazing. People who don't care about you tell you you're fantastic. Keep going, keep doing what you're doing. The people who care about you are the people who have the guts to tell you you suck. Don't go out there and do this anymore. This is not a good career for you. But no. Like Quantum Kitty donated $5. She says, "Did you see the lady who perfectly copied the routine? She was a couch potato like me." Yes, and I had the clip, but they took it down off of X, unfortunately.
For her opportunity to participate.
See, they have to make it about gender because they have nothing else, right? She's talentless, right? She's the only talent she's been able to display is that she could pass a thesis on. She could write a 100-page paper about being a girl who breakdances. And I use the term breakdance very loosely. So, of course, whenever you attack them, again, it's the whole DEI thing here in the United States. We're going to advance you because you're a woman. We're going to put you forward because you're a woman. But if you say anything about the fact that we advanced you for being a woman, then you're a racist, you're sexist, you're misogynist, you're homophobic, right?
That she loved, and that got her to winning the Olympic qualifying event to be here in Paris.
Okay, so I've got the video of the Olympic qualifying event. It's coming up.
She is the best breakdancer female that we have for Australia. Are you
the best? That's the best. Listen. Okay, let me just talk to you for just a second. Okay, like ladies, you're not doing yourselves any favors here. You gotta rein these ladies in. Okay, I know you don't want to be responsible for it, especially the ladies who are watching and listening to this show, and I know many of them do. It's the thing is, here's the deal. All right, they're not gonna listen to us. Okay, they're not gonna listen to us, and they're only gonna listen to each other. Okay, because they're like, I only listen to people who have a vagina like me. Okay, so you're going to have to be the one, ladies, to go out there and slap these bitches around. It's going to be your job, right? We can't do it for you. Guys are not going to be able to save it from us. We need you, ladies, on the front line. You conservative female patriots are going to have to go out there in the front lines, and you're going to have to take your bug assault gun, and you're going to have to squish some bugs. You're going to have to do this. Right? I hate to do it, right? But you're being drafted, okay? You're being sent out on the front line. You got to go take these women on. You just got to, right? And to save the species, to save the human race, right? Because otherwise it's racist, sexist, KKK, whatever.
Event to be here in Paris. She is the best breakdancer female that we have for Australia.
The best. I mean, either she's lying or she's an idiot. Probably both.
Now you look at the history of what we have had as women athletes has faced in terms of criticism, belittlement, judgment, criticism, and.
Are you serious? I mean, first of all, criticism, belittlement. I mean, like, first of all, every man that I know loves watching female volleyball, okay? There's not a man out there alive. I don't watch sports, but when female volleyball comes on the TV, I am riveted, and I do not want to look away.
Shouldn't be there. 100 years ago, leading into Paris 1924, Australia sent a team of 37 athletes. None were women. 100 years later, we have 256 women represented here, and Ray Gunn is an absolutely loved member of this Olympic team.
See, there it is. She's a loved member of this Olympic team. She's not a talented member of this Olympic team. She's not a valuable member of this Olympic team. She didn't bring any gold medals. She didn't bring a single point. She brought you dishonor and she brought you infamy, but she's a loved member of the team. And that's really what counts. Look at her eyes, right? See, this is a woman who has had her empathy in her life. She has been weaponized. This is a woman who has been who has been weaponized. She has been brainwashed. She is an NPC, right? They have taken this woman's natural female empathy that should be used for bearing children and raising children. Like, that empathy should be used to protect children. And instead, what they have done is they have weaponized her empathy that should be used on her family, to protect a family, to protect children. And they have turned it against society. They have turned it against society in order to complete their ethos, in order for them to fight for their leftist communist views. Okay. Now, here we have the Australian breakdancer Ray Gunn. You've seen clips of her beat 14 opponents at the Olympics. She also has a PhD in breakdancing. A PhD. She's a doctor. Okay. So here's what the finals look like. Look at this.
Show you.
This is actually
2-1.
Wow, it's tight.
It came down to the last round.
And go ahead and celebrate.
What I love about this too is it demonstrates the reality of theory versus application, right? So, and it puts to truth the old axiom that those who can do and those who can't teach, right? If she was actually a really good breakdancer, if she was a great breakdancer, she'd be famous for it, right? She'd be making a lot of money for it. She wouldn't have to go through the academia route in order to advance herself as some kind of breakdancer that she's not. But this is a perfect example of what we're talking about when we talk about how academia has been captured by leftist ideology and people who have no concept of the subjects that they teach. Just imagine how much this is pervasive throughout the rest of academia. Right? This isn't just an isolated incident. This is an example of what's happening not just in Australia. This is happening all across the Western world. Right? We take people who can't even do the things that they're teaching or apply the things that they're teaching, and they're going out there and they're going to teach generations of children. And what you'll do is you'll compound the error. Right? You'll take someone who will show you how to do something wrong, and then that error will be compounded throughout history. I really loved that old Simpsons sketch where they showed Lisa was really excited because they segregated the math classes between girls and boys because they assumed that boys were always trying to destroy everything or tackle problems, right? And that's how boys see the world. Well, girls would see things differently. And then Lisa was so disappointed because instead of learning about math, they were talking about what does a number smell like, right? And she was complaining, Lisa, rightfully so, because you can't replace like self-esteem training with actual learning. But that's what we have done. And this is what would happen if we lived in a society, if we didn't fight back against it, if we didn't have shows like these, if we didn't fight the culture war, as I know a lot of people are like, well, we shouldn't be involved in the culture war. This is the culture war, right? And if we aren't engaged, if we aren't actively fighting back, if we aren't bullying these people mercilessly when they do things like these so that we get responses like this woman right here, we're not doing our jobs.
Is that I love Rachel, and I think that
not Rachel's an amazing breakdancer. She never says that she's a good breakdancer, that she's earned a spot on the team or anything like that. This is what she says.
What has occurred on social media with trolls and keyboard warriors and taking those comments and giving them airtime has been really disappointing. If you don't know Rachel's story, in 2008, she was locked in a room crying, being involved in a male-dominated sport as the only woman, and it took great courage for her to continue on and fight for her opportunity to participate in a sport that she loved, and that got her to winning the Olympic qualifying event to.
I promise that it was all a lobbying effort based on politics and gender, because her thesis is deterritorializing breakdancing, right? How being a B girl in a B boy's world, right? Her whole point is that look at me, I'm here and I'm special because I'm a girl, right? That's diversity, equity, inclusion. We're putting her in here just for the simple fact that she's a girl, right? She lobbied for this politically. I promise you this was not some merit-based admission, right? I guarantee goddamn-tee it that she is not the best female break dancer in Australia.
She is the best break dancer female that we have for Australia. Now you look at the history of what we have had as women athletes has faced in terms of criticism, belittle.
See, oh, we're so oppressed. No, yeah, nobody wants to see female athletes.
Judgment,
yes.
criticism, and simple comments like they shouldn't be there. 100 years ago, leading into Paris 1924, Australia sent a team of 37 athletes. None were women.
How many gold medals? What was it? Wait a minute. What year was that?
Australia sent a team of 37 athletes. None were women. 100 years later.
Well, hold on. What year was that?
100 years ago, leading into Paris 1924, Australia sent a team of 37
Paris
athletes.
1924.
None
okay, hold on
were
one
women.
second.
100 years later, we have 256 women represented here, and Ray Gunn is an absolutely loved member of this Olympic team.
Okay, hold on. So what I'm going to do is real quick. I'm going to pull up. I'm just going to use ChatGPT. How many gold medals did Australia win in the 1924 Olympics? Let's see. Let's take a look here. How many gold medals? Australia won. At least they won 3 gold medals. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that was her qualifying here. Here we are. So.
And then another. And then another. And then another.
Oh my God. Well, we haven't fun yet, so if you haven't clicked that like button yet, please do so. We'd love to earn your support this morning. We did get a sale over at forlibertyshop.com at $27. Let's do the math real quick. See if we've unlocked the bonus content yet. So 27, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. We've raised $41 towards a $60 goal. There we go. I lost my crap when I first saw the kangaroo hop. Yes. So if you are enjoying the show this morning and it's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. Click that follow button on the show's live stream and come back and join us. It's every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. The Wake Up America show streams live. So it's 5 days a week, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. If you're watching us over on X.com, and it's nice to see a few hundred people joining us live over there. Good morning, Adam Karibachi and many others. Then do us a favor and click that repost button and share us in other people's feeds so we can all hang out this morning. We'd love to have you guys hang out with us over on Rumble. That's where we are streaming the show from using Rumble Studio. Thank you to Rumble. Appreciate you. Our Rumble channel is rumble.com/AP4Liberty. That's AP, the number 4, AP4Liberty. Again, 5 days a week. It's a great way to start your day. And also, real quick, let me remind you that 4Liberty Shop is open for business. All you got to do if you want to unlock today's bonus content, if you buy a shirt at 4libertyshop.com, our White Dudes for Donald Trump shirts are just flying off the shelves. Thank you, Cyber Patriot. Over in the chat. Yes, the White Dudes for Donald Trump shirts are flying off of the shelves, as well as the White Girls for Donald Trump. But we also have sold some Black Dudes for Donald Trump shirts. A dingo stole my dignity. We have Mexican dudes for Donald Trump and Jewish dudes for Donald Trump, as well as a whole collection of amazing Donald Trump under fire merch. It's going to be getting cold outside soon, so now's a great time to get a Donald Trump Lives hoodie. You can get those exclusively at 4libertyshop.com. And if we raise another, looks like $20, then we will unlock today's bonus content, which I'm taking in a little bit of a new direction content-wise. My buddy says that the pocket tees are all the rage these days, so check those out over at 4libertyshop.com. You can get exclusively designed pocket tees again at 4libertyshop.com. Quest Fanning says, when I was at Porkfest, I got Lady Liberty Australia to say, a dingo stole my baby. Very good, Quest.
And then another. And then another. And then another.
You love to see it. Brittany Griner stood with her hand on her heart and cried as the national anthem played after winning gold at the Paris Olympics. Take a listen. Look at that. Look at that. Is she a changed woman now? Maybe a bit of a change of heart on Brittany Griner's part there. Well, if so, good for you, Brittany Griner. If so, good for you. If you've had a real change of heart about the greatest country the world has ever seen, then I'm glad to see it. Kamala isn't even trying to be slick. She just straight out promised stopping top taxes on tip like Trump did. Thanks to Carrie Sloan for this.
Because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
Eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Interesting. Now, let me just do a quick taxes on tips. Ron Paul, what happened? Oh, Trump says no taxes on tips was his idea, and yet, it was a GOP candidate's proposal years ago. Whose was it? Ron Paul, bitches. I love that, of course, the left is going to attack him over this, but I'm just going to say I'm going to attack everybody over this. It was Ron Paul's idea. The ex-Texas lawmaker in 2007 and years thereafter introduced legislation in Congress that looked to exempt tips from federal income and payroll taxes. Good to see it. That's because I understand ending taxes on tips will give these workers a pay raise, letting them keep more money to put toward things like a house or a car payment, their retirement, or their own and their children's education. Paul wrote in a 2012 op-ed, baby. Yes. That's right. That's right. Oh, I see Courtney Conover, after arguing that taxation isn't theft last week, is saying, now these taxes are tipped because that's how I earn my money. Oh, really, Courtney? I say double Courtney's taxes. I'm just kidding. Cut everybody's taxes. How about that one? JD Vance was just cooking. Dana, they call her Dana Bash over on CNN over the weekend. I love this clip. Take a listen.
On the question of when he left the National Guard, he filed his election paperwork February 10th, 2005. That was a month before the National Guard even announced that it was possible that they would deploy to Iraq, and it ended up being 2 months. He retired 2 months before they actually got the paperwork.
But on CNN last night, Dana, one of the people who was actually in charge of him said they knew they were going to deploy to Iraq in February of 2004, fall of 2004. So he knew he was going to Iraq. He decided to quit, to retire, whatever word you want to use.
Retire.
Because he wanted to run for Congress. He lied about that. He said that when he decided to retire, he did not know that he was going to Iraq. That is another untruth, as even his senior military officer said. So again, I'm not criticizing the service. I'm criticizing the dishonesty. Dishonesty spoken in favor and for the purpose of political benefit. And I think that the most important thing here, Dana, is it goes to Kamala Harris's judgment. Tim Walz is ultimately going to be the vice president. Kamala Harris is in great health. I'm sure she's going to be president if she wins for 4 or maybe even 8 years. Why did Kamala Harris choose a person who has lied about their military service? I think that is a serious lapse in judgment. And I don't want to hear from a campaign spokesperson of Kamala Harris. I want to hear Kamala Harris herself address what I just said.
You know, I've seen a lot of statements from veterans, including those you served with, saying it's just untoward to be criticizing somebody who served for 24 years.
Dana, I'm not interested in the ad hominem. I've heard from a lot of veterans groups who criticize Tim Walz. The question is, he said he served in war, and he didn't. That is a dishonesty. I couldn't care less what one or the other person says about it. I care about what the truth is. The truth is that Tim Walz didn't tell the truth, and
got to say, JD's very good
Dana,
with the media.
This is about Kamala Harris's judgment. And I think that when you ask, why has Kamala Harris allowed the border to be wide open? Why has Kamala Harris supported policies that have promoted the increase in inflation? I think it goes to the heart of her judgment, and I think that that's what we should be talking about.
One last question. Donald Trump didn't serve in the military. He received a medical draft deferment for bone spurs to avoid serving in the Vietnam War, reportedly as a favor to his father. Do you find that shameful, too?
I think that Donald Trump didn't serve in the military, but he didn't lie about it, Dana. I've known Donald Trump for a long time. He really honors our veterans. He honors me for my service. Donald Trump didn't lie about serving in the military. He didn't say that he went to Vietnam when he didn't. This is the problem. I don't criticize anybody. Whether they served our country or not, I think it's honorable to serve, but obviously a lot of people have reasons for not serving. I criticize somebody for embellishing their record, for lying, saying, I went to war. Dana, do you think that it's a problem that he said, I went to war, but he didn't actually? That seems to be a problem to me.
Well, they've corrected that. Let's move on to...
They've corrected it by admitting that he lied.
Let's move on to another important issue to voters.
Oh, yeah, let's move on after they corrected that he lied,
Vance
like
have a point when he said that we should hear more from Governor Walz himself or even Vice President Harris to correct the record there?
No, he doesn't. And the fact that a veteran wants to go out and disparage another veteran just goes against certainly everything I learned during my time in service. Look, I think in many ways it's the exception that proves the rule. If the only thing that they can find about Tim Walz to complain about is to disparage his military record that was clearly honorable. Remember, you can retire at 20 years. Tim Walz served for 24. And the fact that they have to go back to find a clip from 2018 to find the one time that he slipped up when he talks about the weapons of war that he carried and said something instead about carrying a weapon in war, it's kind of an exception that proves the rule in terms of how hard you have to look to find Tim Walz saying anything that isn't precise and accurate.
Right. After they just proved that he lied about going to war. So Pete Buttigieg dismisses Tim Walz's stolen valor as that one time that he slipped up. We're going to speak to a fellow Minnesotan, Jake Duesenberg, this morning here in about 12 minutes. You're not going to want to miss Jake when he talks about his governor and his role during the pandemic as well. Let's hear from the RNC research room about VP Harris's role in terms of the flow of migrants across the border.
In 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, that the president put Vice President Kamala Harris in playing a critical role in terms of trying to stop the flow of migrants across the border. I mean, she was more than 2 years ago. She got this responsibility. No, she's not actually. She wasn't the border zone. It was back in 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago.
That's interesting. Look at that. ABC News' John Carl. So there's saying on one hand that VP Harris was put in charge of the border, but then on the other hand saying she wasn't actually the border czar. This is how you know that the media is running interference for the Democratic Party. Right? They are completely and entirely captured by the Democrats. When you watch ABC or CBS or NBC, sometimes the bias is subtle, sometimes it's overt, but it's always there.
The president put Vice President Kamala Harris in playing a critical role in terms of trying to stop the flow of migrants across the border. I mean, she was more than 2 years ago. She got this responsibility. No, she's not actually. She wasn't the border zone. It was.
She wasn't actually in the border zone.
24 years, and lost his hearing. Very serious hearing damage because he was exposed to so much artillery and had to have a operation that was paid for by the VA, which he's spoken movingly about because the first time he could wake up and hear his daughter singing, versus J.D. Vance, who wrote press releases.
It's interesting, even though we just saw that the Kamala Harris campaign had to admit that Walz never actually served in war. You love to see it. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. We're very close to the total for the bonus content this morning. If you'd like to see today's bonus content, make sure you get those Rumble Rant donations in. It's nice to see our friends over on YouTube as well. We do sometimes get a few people over there. I know some people are like, oh, I have to watch the show on YouTube or what have you. I highly recommend that if you don't have to watch it over on YouTube, that you please join us over at rumble.com. It's so much better over here, guys. If for whatever reason you can't, I completely understand, but it would be great if you joined us at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. And that goes for our friends over on X.com as well. We'd love to have you be a regular guest of the show. This show streams live Mondays through Fridays from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So it's a 2-hour show. It's a great way to start your morning. Waco joining us this morning, as well as Trump One and OK Trey over, as well as Jared Pierce and Same Token over on YouTube. What's up? We're glad to have all of our friends joining us on multiple platforms today. So make sure that you click that like button and subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here. Sidewalk Closed says, we're nicer on Rumble. It's awesome to see the same people every day. Yes, it is. There we go. If you'd like to see today's bonus content, get those Rumble Rant donations in, guys. We'd love to show you our new approach that we're going to be taking to some of our bonus content. So if you click that like button and you subscribe to the channel, that'll help to support the show. But by going to forlibertyshop.com, you guys can get some awesome merch. We're selling a lot of our Trump Defiant merch these days. People are stocking up now on hoodies now that the weather's starting to turn. People are talking about football. You can get our Trump Defiant at the Courage Under Fire collection at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4, forlibertyshop.com. I laughed at somebody's comment over on YouTube. I just checked in and said this. They said, racist shirts, literally racist t-shirts. Oh my gosh. Now, wait a minute. Hold on just one second. Mexican is a nationality. Does Mexican count as race? I'm pretty sure no. Hispanic? Yes, right? Latina, Latin. But Mexican is a nationality, dude. Get it right. And Jewish dudes, Judaism is a religion, son. It's a culture and an ethnicity. So if you feel like white dudes for Donald Trump, black dudes for Donald Trump, or white girls for Donald Trump is too racist for you, get yourself a Mexican dudes for Donald Trump shirt or a Jewish dudes for Donald Trump over at forlibertyshop.com. Then you don't have to feel racist. But the way I figure is that everybody is just touting their identity these days in this election. So, there's the white dudes for Donald Trump, for Kamala Harris group. So I thought if we had a white dudes for Donald Trump, we should all just wear our identities on our sleeves, because that's all anybody cares about anymore. Remember the ray gun, the B-girl or whatever, breakdancer in the Olympics, right? She got into the Olympics because she's a girl, right? She's just girl breakdancers. Right? We should just all wear our identities, because that's all anybody cares about anymore. So wear your identity on your sleeve, literally. White dudes for Donald Trump shirts. You can get those exclusively at 4Liberty. That's the number 4. Get those at 4libertyshop.com. Okay, guys, we haven't gotten enough to unlock today's bonus content just yet. We're $20 away. We're going to go get Jake Duesenberg from Minnesota to talk about his governor, Tim Walz, and we'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit PetersonVoiceStudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's patriotic perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning to the Cantina crew. This is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America show. I've decided that Austin Petersen will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're...
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Thanks so much for tuning in live with us at rumble.com, as well as on X, YouTube, and elsewhere. But the fun's all at Rumble. So if you're joining us over there today, click the like button. And if it's your first time watching this show, we'd love to earn your follow as well. Before you leave, make sure you click the follow button. Come back and join us tomorrow. We're a 5-day-a-week, 2-hour live show. So we'd love to have you be a regular guest. Click the follow button before you leave and come back and join us again tomorrow morning, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, Mondays through Fridays. That's the schedule. All right. Well, this controversy swirling around Kamala Harris's VP pick, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, has continued to grow in recent days. It's become more and more confusing about how Tim Walz served in the military. Some people are talking about this being stolen valor, but he did serve in the military. I thought that was for people who said they served, but they didn't. But does it apply to people who said they served in combat, but didn't? And what was his record as governor while COVID-19 was going along? Let's talk to somebody who knows a thing or two about it. He's a Minnesota local, the host of the Truth Hurts show, and the founder of the Action for Liberty group in Minnesota. His first time on the show, Jake Duesenberg, joining us live on the show. Good morning, Jake. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here, Jake. So, big picture, who is this Tim Walz guy? I was out all week last week, and I didn't even have time to do a show about him, and I know that we were supposed to sit down and talk about him, so just tell us a little bit about your governor.
Well, I'm honored to be the first one to introduce your audience to our awful governor. We thought he was a moderate in 2018. when he first got elected. He represented a southern district. Minnesota's just like the rest of the country. It's all red outside the metro area. So he represented CD1 in U.S. Congress, and it's a reddish area. So once he left, it basically went Republican and hasn't gone back. So Tim Walz was kind of billed as a moderate. He got into office. He had a Republican legislature. So we didn't really find out how extreme he was until COVID. And just like around the country, March 13th, all these governors, they instituted emergency orders, right? He went in the direction of Andrew Cuomo and actually said, you got to stay in your home. If you leave your home, you could be imprisoned up to 90 days and fined $1,000. And then it just went, businesses shut down, mask mandates, vaccine mandates on state employees. He did the whole thing that all these other governors, even COVID patients in nursing homes, everything Gretchen Whitmer and everything Andrew Cuomo did and everything that Newsom over in California did, he did as well. He just didn't get the coverage because he was actually a boring snooze fest of a governor. But we were fighting him tooth and nail. Our organization, Action for Liberty, fought against his emergency powers, finally made him sign them. Unfortunately, it wasn't until 2021, but it was right before vaccine mandates came down from the Biden administration. So luckily, he wasn't able to enforce that on the civilian population. So that's the governor. And then in 2022, Democrats took over all full three branches of the Minnesota government. And that's where we really learned this guy is a radical extremist. So just to give you the highlights here, he passed a bill. In fact, even before he passed the bill, he had an executive order that allowed transgender mutilation surgeries for people as young as 6 years old. He paraded a couple 6-year-olds on stage saying, if they know their gender, we need to listen to them. Basically, they can get hormone treatments, puberty blockers, and in Minnesota, they perform genital mutilation surgeries. So he's also got the most extreme abortion law in the country. Babies that are born from a botched abortion can be allowed to pass away without care, life-saving care, which to me is like, well, they've defined life now and it begins outside the womb. Another really interesting thing is, and this has just started to get some buzz. I saw Elon Musk put out a tweet about it. There's language in our Human Rights Act that said pedophilia is not a sexual orientation. Democrats removed that language, and Governor Walz signed that into law, which means that essentially, if you have an attraction to young children, you can actually get protected from places of employment, schools, benefits. It's an extreme thing. Now, pedophilia is still illegal if you act on it, but if you have those inclinations and you're very open about it, there's nothing in the Minnesota Human Rights Act that forbids you from getting employment or even being a school teacher. So those are just the highlights. I could go on and on, but those are the highlights of Governor Tim Walz.
Talk to us about his record on law and order. What was his behavior as governor in 2020 during the riots?
So obviously there's this boiling pot of water. We were under lockdown. People have to understand George Floyd lost his job because of the lockdown orders, right? And so George Floyd was kind of the catalyst that started all this. And Governor Walz shirked his responsibility when the 3rd precinct fell. Just from like a military standpoint, let alone law enforcement, the 3rd precinct is a key piece of protected terrain or building, right? You can't let that fall. And they did. They let that thing fall. They had a stand down order. In fact, they had an evacuation order by police in the 3rd precinct. So, my big criticism of Tim Walz is he was very late in getting the National Guard to respond to that. Now, I served in the military 12 years. I know a lot of the people that were in the National Guard. I know they're ready. When Tim Walz was asked about why he didn't bring in the National Guard, he belittled them and said, well, they're made up of 19-year-old cooks. And it's like, well, for a guy that dodged a deployment, he was part of the old guard, didn't know the new guard because he dodged a deployment to Iraq. And we can get into that. I know all about that story. He doesn't know how ready the Minnesota National Guard was. And so it was very sad to see this in Minneapolis for, I don't know, a couple of days. It was like a war zone. It was absolutely insane. And then the National Guard got deployed and took over, and we reestablished order.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Jake Duesenberg. We're talking a little bit about his governor, Tim Walz, who is named as Kamala Harris's vice presidential pick for their candidacy in this fall's election. Jake is going through the record of Walz as governor of Minnesota, talking to us a little bit about his record on law and order, as well as his record on COVID-19 tyranny. Talk to us a little bit about the major scandal that's unfurling right now regarding stolen valor allegations and his time in the military. It's difficult for someone like myself to talk about it because if you didn't serve in the military, accusing someone else of stolen valor is kind of like an empty charge. You obviously did serve in the military, so it's a little bit easier for you to talk about it. So what are the allegations against Walz? He did serve in the military, but he wasn't in combat. Did he say he was in combat? Talk us through a little bit what this story really is.
All right, just to give you my credentials, not that you have to have served in the military to opine on this issue, but I served 4 years enlisted, then 8 years as an officer in the Minnesota Army National Guard. Came over as an officer. I got commissioned in May 2005, left the Army as an infantry captain. My deployments were Kosovo and Iraq. So I didn't know Tim Walz because what happened, the big scandal was of May 2005. So here I am coming in as a brand new butter bar lieutenant, and he is getting out, retiring all of a sudden as what now is known as a master sergeant. He was in conditionally the rank of command sergeant major. So what happened, and I've interviewed Command Sergeant Major Thomas Behrens, who was the guy that replaced him on this deployment. I know his immediate supervisor in terms of NCO ranks, Doug Julien, Command Sergeant Major retired, who I was in Iraq with, by the way. So this story is very validated. We covered this back in 2018, by the way. It just didn't stick in Minnesota media like it's been sticking nationally. So what happened was Tim Walz was the Command Sergeant Major, which is, for people that aren't in the military, that's the highest enlisted rank of a battalion. And it was a brigade deployment. So the brigade is higher than the battalion. There's a bunch of battalions under a brigade. So he's the second highest enlisted guy of the whole deployment. Now, they didn't know this at the time, but that was a historic deployment, 22 months, the longest deployment of any unit in modern day history. Many deaths, casualties. I think there was a Silver Star recipient on that deployment. People lost legs, limbs, stuff like that. So they basically know that they're going to Iraq. They're getting prepared. And Tim Walz sees an opportunity to run for U.S. Congress. So he resigns, surprisingly, to the chain of command in May of 2025. And they actually officially got their orders in July of 2005. In May of 2005, he retired. And then they got their orders in July. The media wants to play with us a little bit. Well, they didn't get their orders to July. Everyone knew. In fact, me as a butter bar lieutenant showing up in May 2005, I wanted to go on that deployment. I wasn't even in the brigade, but our company coughed up 2 platoons, and they already had their platoon leaders. So we knew about it. I knew about it as a new guy. He clearly knew about this deployment. So he gets out, and if you can imagine, he's the second highest enlisted guy in this whole deployment. He leaves this vacuum that's got to be filled. So that's where Command Sergeant Major Thomas Behrens comes in. The leadership in Minnesota's Army National Guard goes to Thomas Behrens and go, hey, would you go on this deployment? They need a Command Sergeant Major for this battalion. And this is no easy thing to say yes to because he's got a farm. He farms with his brother. He's got a family. So he comes back and says, yes, I'll do it. So he goes on this deployment. It's a historic deployment. Tim Walz dodged that deployment. And because of this, he never actually truly earned the rank of Command Sergeant Major. He retired as a Master Sergeant. There's numerous times where he says he's a Command Sergeant Major. And I've seen this. I haven't validated, but it seems like his coin when he was in the U.S. Congress even had the Command Sergeant Major rank on it. So it's pissing off a lot of Sergeants Major. Here's the thing that really bugs me. And I didn't really know this until recently, but there's a video the Kamala Harris campaign put out. And Tim Walz is trying to promote gun control. And he goes, we can't have people carrying weapons that I carried in war. What war were you in, Tim Walz? You never deployed. You were never in a combat zone. That's just clear-cut stolen valor. If people want to see this, you can go to my Twitter account at @Duesenberg or go to truthertsnews.com. We've covered this thing, and we'll probably cover it for another week because that is stolen valor, and war veterans like myself, we do not appreciate people doing that.
So when exactly did Tim Walz claim that he carried weapons in war? Is that the only time that he claimed that he was actually in war and implying that he was in combat, or did he do it often?
So there's a lot of implications here. Like I just posted something, I think, was it last night? It must have been last night. And I'm just learning some of these for the first time, right? He implies things all the time. He was at a 9/11 ceremony in 2021, so the 20th anniversary, and he mixes words to the sense that it makes you think he was actually in Afghanistan. He goes, when I was on the Bagram Air Base, I had to watch a casket come across. Well, he never mentions that he was a congressional delegation. He says it right after he says he served in the military for 24 years. There's a lot of incidences. There's a photo of him with a sign that says Operation Enduring Freedom Vets for Kerry, John Kerry. So he apparently was active in 2004. Well, it's like, okay, you might have, because I think he did he got activated to help in Italy in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. But when you hold up a sign that says you're an OEF vet, we consider that an Afghanistan vet, right? Same thing with Iraq. OIF vet means you went to Iraq. So it's just, if it was just one of these things, it'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But it's just all these cases where he's stolen valor when it comes to rank, stolen valor when it gives the implication he went to war. And then from his own mouth, and the Kamala Harris campaign even put out the video, I couldn't believe it, that he says he carried weapons in war and he never went to war.
Okay, so I'll take your word for it on that, and I'm sure that we're going to be getting more information as this comes out in the coming weeks. JD Vance is definitely out there attacking him for it, but they're kind of throwing accusations back at JD Vance, saying that he worked as a journalist in Iraq. He wasn't exactly in combat either, but it's going to be difficult for, I think, voters to suss this out in the limited amount of time that we have. So talk to us a little bit more bigger picture here when it comes to Walz. You call him a far left progressive, not just because of things like the bill that he signed, which protected pedophiles there, not just because of his lack of law and order when it came to the COVID-19 riots in Minnesota, but talk to us a little bit about how he feels about issues like socialism. I've heard some of his comments. Excuse me if you see me trying to slap a fly. It's buzzing around the studio. It's driving me insane. This will be fun for the audience to watch. But talk to us a little bit about just where does he lie on economic issues and things like that? Is he as far left a progressive as, say, any member of the squad in Congress?
Yeah, I mean, boy, that's a tough one because they're really far left. It seems like it, and I think I just saw a video of him saying how great it is to have Ilhan Omar. He's so proud that she's a congresswoman. So I used to run Action for Liberty. I founded the organization. We've left it over to former Representative Eric Mortensen, who's doing a great job. So we've been fighting him for years on COVID, transgender surgeries, but also economic. We're very much an economic group. So I'll give you just two good examples. The first one is we had a $21 billion budget surplus in Minnesota, just a massive surplus. Just to give people context, our budget in Minnesota for a biennium was about $50 to $60 billion, right? So we had a $21 billion budget surplus. I shouldn't say not a dime. What did they give us? Checks for like $260? I mean, every taxpayer could have got a check for $8,000. That's how big the surplus was. And we got $260. Why? Because what Tim Walz did is he spent it all by redistributing it to classes of political allies, whether it's teachers, in other new government programs to help out the constituencies that he serves. So that's just, to me, a robbery, and seems to be what a socialist would do, is not give back a surplus. Surplus is like the waiter brings you a check and they overcharge you. So what do? You go and give it back to them, right? They don't do that. So Tim Walz blew a $21 billion surplus. The other great example I'd give you is, Tim Walz enacted a carbon-free by 2040 law in Minnesota. So apparently Minnesota's whole electrical system needs to be carbon-free by 2040. There's an incremental step. By 2030, we have to be 80% carbon free. Well, what do you think that's going to mean for energy prices and sustainability in terms of a good electrical grid? It's insanity. And I imagine your audience knows this whole climate change thing is nothing but Marxism 101, and that is Tim Walz.
Talk to us a little bit about this. The chat is talking about it right now. If I were to go into a boys' bathroom at, say, like a public school in Minnesota, would I find female tampons there?
Yeah, so that was the legislative process gone awry. The Democrats, once again, they took full control and they won the 2022 election, so they took full control in 2023. And they had a bill that put tampons in bathrooms in Minnesota. And in the legislative process, the Democrats amended it so that it didn't specify only female bathrooms because, men can menstruate, apparently. So Governor Walz signed that into law. So I think it's fair to criticize him as Tampon Tim, but who knows? The thing about Tim Walz, people have to understand this about Tim Walz. Who knows what he really believes? The reason he got selected by Harris is because he'll do what they want him to do, right? He took those orders. I don't know what entity gave these orders to Cuomo and Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer, but they took it, right? And, we dug into Walz's past. He actually, when he was I think first year or early on in his congressional career, he was part of a resolution praising the WEF and Klaus Schwab. So it's like, why does someone do something like that? These guys take marching orders. They essentially are, in many regards, chameleons. The problem is Tim Walz's marching orders have moved far, far to the left, and that's probably why they liked him over Shapiro.
Somebody over on the chat called him Timpon. Very funny. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. I'm speaking to Jake Duesenberg about his governor, Tim Walz, now on the ticket for President of the United States for the Democrats. Jake is the host of the Truth Hurts show and the founder of Action for Liberty in Minnesota, giving us a little bit of a background on Tim Walz and his record. Now, your governor was previously endorsed by the NRA. So when it comes to gun rights, you would think, looking at that record, oh, wow, okay, he was endorsed by the NRA at one time. But he seems to have changed his mind a bit when it comes to the Second Amendment. What could we expect from Walz when it comes to gun rights?
Yeah, Minnesota is a high gun ownership state, and so it's very difficult for the left to actually pass what they want. He did institute red flag gun seizure laws in Minnesota. He passed a universal background check. It's kind of a joke of a thing. It's like you have to keep paperwork when you transfer to another person. So there's not an FFL that goes into that. But he talks about assault weapons bans, whatever those are. And once again, like I said earlier on, if people are just joining, Governor Walz, the most clear-cut stolen valor that he's committed was when he stood in front of an audience, and I think this was back when he was a congressman. It's either that or when he was running for governor the first time. The video just got surfaced. Actually, Kamala Harris's campaign put it out, and he's standing in front of people saying that he used to be endorsed by the NRA, and he's a hunter, but we can't have people carrying weapons that he carried in war. And Tim Walz never went to war. So not only is that stolen valor, he's using that stolen valor to try to take away our firearms. I'm a big gun rights advocate. Shall not be infringed means something. It's actually very strong language. He has no right to take away our firearms. So I think he's going to lean that direction when he gets into let's say he's not going to get into the White House, but that's the direction he would go if he got elected.
Now, one of my favorite inspirations, a British politician, you probably know her, the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher. She used to be criticized by the left, the socialist left, who took over after she left, for being a milk snatcher. They called her a milk snatcher because she ended programs that gave away free milk to children in primary educational schools. Was there a bit of a controversy there when it came to Tim Walz in Minnesota regarding school lunch programs and things like that? What have you heard much about this story?
Well, I mean, that's one of those things. It's like, of all the leftist policies, they gave free lunches to everyone. Like, I'm opposed to it because I believe, I have two children in school, one that's going to be going to school. Like, I was fine paying for their lunch, right? I think that's a responsibility. And if some children are hungry, we can solve these things in our community, right? Not big state government, certainly not the federal government. So that's the better direction. But in the end of the day, I kind of joke with it. People like, well, technically, that's one way I'm getting my surplus money back, right? They spend all this money. I'm actually, somewhat benefiting from it because two children's, which I would gladly pay for their lunch and school, I'm actually getting it back. So I don't know. It's an interesting concept, but I think universally everyone believes children should be fed. No, from a liberty perspective, people like us say, hey, the community, nonprofits can take care of this stuff. That's the better way to handle it, not the big state or big federal government doing it.
Okay, Jake the milk snatcher it is. And Jake, on the cultural angle of Tim Walz, everything that I'm reading right now, the left is really trying to paint up the fact that he's a really masculine man, that he wears flannel shirts. And I'm reading this morning a column from Bloomberg by Francis Wilkinson. That's a man's name. And he is also a writer for Rolling Stone. And here's how he describes Tim Walz in the headline. Tim Walz's masculinity is terrifying to Republicans. Kamala Harris's running mate has traditional manly man traits. He's also not frightened of women, afraid of black people, capital B, or terrified of the future. Are you terrified of Tim Walz's masculinity, Jake?
So let me get this straight. They're arguing he has toxic masculinity. Is that what they're arguing here? It's fascinating.
Oh, when white male Democrats are supporting minority Democrats, then it's okay.
Yeah. I guess they're kind of hypocritical. No, he puts on a show, puts on that red flannel all the time, pretends like he's a big guy, but I always laugh at these politicians because the vast majority of them are just jokers. They throw on that fresh blaze orange come pheasant season, pretend like they're out hunting. These guys aren't hunters, they're not outdoorsmen. Whatever. I'm a big outdoorsman. I always laugh at this stuff, the fresh clean blaze orange, or sometimes they're even creative. They find the hand-me-down, and so it looks like they've been doing it all the time. But Tim Walz, he's a metro. The interesting thing is he does come from southern Minnesota, but he fits in the Twin Cities. He actually doesn't own a house. Do you know that? He's living purely on government subsidized housing. They sold their house in Mankato, I don't know, a couple years ago. His governor's mansion, which probably if it was listed would go for a couple million on Summit Avenue in St. Paul, Minnesota, is getting a $12 million renovation right now, which that makes sense, right? You'll never get that money back. And so he's also staying at the former president of the University of Minnesota's house, which is either in St. Paul or Minneapolis. I don't know which side of the bank it's on. So this guy he's a joker. He loves the cities. He loves the metropolitan areas. He just throws on that red flannel and goes hunting, with the cameras. That's it.
Jake, this was a great conversation. I feel like we've covered almost everything, but is there anything that you think that we might have missed that we should know about your governor, Tim Walz?
I mean, there's just so much. We go on and on. We're also on the Rumble platform, which I hope is working well for you guys. We run a similar program where we bring in the chat. So if you guys are interested, we'll probably cover it a little bit more. It's the Truth Hurts show right here on Rumble. We do those other platforms, but boy, the strikes and all that stuff YouTube gives you, it's just like, it's ridiculous. And we're telling the truth. And, the one thing is my Twitter, I'm trying to be better on Twitter since Elon took over, because I had a dormant account for many, many years. But if you go to @Duesenberg, you'll see a lot of the stuff on stolen valor. I hope this penetrates audiences beyond the veterans community, because I know it's definitely hurting or definitely penetrating our community. People are really pissed off about it. But a guy that won't deploy, you served 24 years, you're getting benefits right now as a retiree. For you to abandon your troops when you were called upon, right? Despite what our feelings are of the Iraq war right now, I'm personally not for all this military intervention overseas. But there's people like us that we took the call because we took an oath of office, and when he was called to go to Iraq, he abandoned his troop as a senior leader. He lies about the rank that he retired at, which is really BS, and then actually has the audacity to say, I carried weapons in war. And that's just stolen valor. So we're going to stay on this story this week, and we cover a lot of the other things. And then I still am involved with Action for Liberty. They have a booth at the Minnesota State Fair, 2 million fairgoers, and it's going to have on the top Never Walz. We actually had the State Fair steal our booth signs in 2021 because we had Governor Walz like dressed as a king with a crown and a greasy constitution and taking a bite out of a Liberty drumstick. And they stole our signs because they said it was disrespectful for the governor. I said, yes, that's the point of the sign.
That's called free speech. Yes, that's what it's supposed to be for. Jake.
Yeah, we sent him a letter from our lawyer about how they're on state grounds and they got to put those signs back. And so they've never bothered us since. But man, we'll be back at the state fair. Hopefully we get a lot of coverage by the media because we want people to understand what Minnesotans really think about this guy. It's really just the metropolitan area. The people out in greater Minnesota outside the metro area, they despise this guy.
Jake Duesenberg. He's the host of the Truth Hurts show. You can find him right here on Rumble. What's the URL for the show, Jake?
truthhurtsnews.com. You'll see right there. Unfortunately, we put our YouTube stream right on the front page. I'm hoping Rumble's got a plug-in. I guess I got to get on that.
Yeah, but it's time to switch it over. We all need to go over to Rumble to support them because Rumble is supporting us. Jake, hey, this was a great conversation, and I think you were the best guest to break down Tim Walz. We'll definitely come back to you for this story. Thank you so much for all you do for liberty in Minnesota and around the country. We look forward to following you over on your show, The Truth Hurts Show, over at Rumble. I'm encouraging all of my listeners and friends to check that out as soon as the show's over today. Thanks for being so generous with your time, and thanks for standing up for liberty. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. What say you? Now, where do you think that guest came from? Let me just ask you, those who are tuning into the show, do you think that Jake just called me up randomly last week and was like, oh, Austin, I want to be on the Wake Up America show. I'm from Minnesota. I know I've got Tim Walz's number, the biggest topic right now. Where do you think is that how you think it went down? No. That ain't how it went down. You know what Austin did? Austin was like, I need to get some information. I want the Wake Up America show to be the best talk show there is. I need to find the best guest who's got Tim Walz's number. I need to coordinate. I need to logisticate, and I need to vibrate and synthicate, and I need to get them on my talk show. And that's what I did. I weaved. I dived. I was kind of, it was kind of like, who was that? It was sort of looked something like this, me getting them on this show this morning.
You from Australia and you done lied on your Olympics application and said that you knew how to break dance. You seen some old 80s highlights and said, I could do that. Now you on the world stage with a golf outfit on, hyping yourself up in your head talking about toe tap, hitting with the spin, climbing in the circle, hands on my chin. Bunny, rabbit, kangaroo, one of those two. I got moves, so what you gonna do? I'm a worm, y'all.
The person that you're watching do this in this video and debase herself is an Australian professor who actually wrote her thesis in breakdancing. Deterritorializing gender in Sydney's breakdancing scene, a B-girl's experience of B-boying.
Okay, so maybe my booking talent is a little bit better than how that woman danced at the Australian Olympics. But me, AP, I'm always out there working to bring you the absolute best guests for the biggest news stories around the world. And I got a text message the other day that I have to read to you because it made me so happy. I think I got it on Friday night, and I still haven't responded to them just yet, but you got to hear it. It just made my day. And I think that for the regular guests of the show, you're going to love it as well. Also, I have to say big thank you to my buddy Andy Opperman. He just donated $20 on the Rumble Rants. Helped us to get over the line so you guys can watch the so that you guys can watch the bonus content. Thank you for that. He also brought over some food to us because he lives in Jefferson City as well. And we had some delicious butter chicken last Friday night. Thank you for that, Andy. It was amazing. I also even brought all the extra trimmings as well as the naan bread. It was so delicious. We're still eating the leftovers from it. Thank you, Andy. Love you, bud. Thanks for all your support for our family and for the show. Then I got this message on Saturday night. This is Brian, the guy who ordered all your Patriot coffees as a gift for my 4 sons before Christmas. And you called me, which I appreciate. I drive a tanker truck hauling 10,000 gallons of jet fuel to the airports, listening to a lot of podcasts. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams. He says, I used to listen to your previous podcast when you were running for president, but now I listen to the best. There are a lot of good ones I listen to, like Ron Paul and Judge Napolitano, but yours is the best. Well, thank you. He says, it's upbeat and fun. You have a great sense of humor. It's informative. You have great guests. Yes. You're also quite talented in making everything work almost always. Almost always. Thank you. Yes. Almost always. It does almost always work. Like that guy on Lawrence Welk that had all the plates spinning. It shows a lot of preparation and talent. Thank you for sharing the wonderful news of Stephanie's pregnancy and the birth of your daughter Hazel with us. My boys were 9, 10, and 11 pounds. You've asked for ideas regarding future guests. Look up Martin Armstrong at armstrongeconomics.sa.com. And he says that that would be a good interview. And also Monica Perez, a great interview as well. He says there are so many issues I'd love to comment on, but I cannot text while driving. Rumble is too cumbersome to use while driving, and Apple Podcasts are later and don't always come. Take advantage of mother-in-law to watch Hazel. Also encourage you to practice having more children as they bring so much joy, and it does get easier. Imagine being raised without your brother. Thank you so much for your Wake Up America podcast. Well, thank you, Brian. We appreciate you very much. Thanks, Brian. Text messages like that are amazing. And I saw Mighty Megatron that you texted the show and let me know your address because you had won the t-shirt from the giveaway last week. So just FYI, I did get your address and I will send you the t-shirt that you won last week. So congrats, Megatron, and thank you. But since we did get the bonus content unlocked and I want to give you a chance to see it, we'll play it now. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the new bonus content strategy, which I think will work out really well for us after it's over. Enjoy it. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Brought to you by people like Andy Opperman. Thanks, Andy.
Accusations of stolen valor prompt battle between House veterans. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's military record has ignited a major partisan dispute in the House of Representatives. Republican veterans have accused Walz of misrepresenting his 24-year National Guard career and criticized his decision to leave just before his unit deployed to Iraq. Democratic veterans in Congress have defended Walz, citing his service past the 20-year retirement mark. They dismissed the GOP's accusations as baseless attacks. Repeater Mike Waltz, a former Green Beret, has been a leading voice against Walz, accusing him of misleading voters about his rank and abandoning his unit. Repeater Derek Van Orden, R-Wis, a retired Navy SEAL, echoed these sentiments, calling Walz's actions a cardinal sin and expressing concern over his potential role as vice president. The Harris campaign countered with support from Democratic military veterans, who praised Walz's service and dismissed the attacks as morally bankrupt. The controversy began with Sen. J.D. Vance, R-Ohio, accusing Walz of stolen valor. Vance highlighted his own service in Iraq, contrasting it with Walz's record. In response, Democratic Rapier Jason Crow criticized Vance for maligning Walz's service for personal gain. Walz served in the National Guard for 20 years, re-enlisting after the Sept, 11 attacks, and retired shortly before his unit was deployed to Iraq. Critics allege he left to avoid deployment, but supporters argue his decision to run for Congress was made before deployment orders. Crow also contrasted Walz's service with former President Trump, accusing Trump of dodging the Vietnam War draft. Walz's service record has not included deployment to a combat zone, unlike Vance, who served in Iraq in a non-combat role. There have been discrepancies about Walz's rank upon retirement. He was found to have incorrectly claimed to retire as a command sergeant major. The Harris-Walz campaign updated his biography to correct this. Walz's deployment history has also been a point of contention. He served in Italy in 2005 in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, but critics have accused him of implying he deployed to Afghanistan which reports do not support. The Harris-Walz campaign has yet to provide further comments, while the dispute continues to draw significant media attention. The controversy underscores the highly charged political environment surrounding military service records. Fox News Digital continues to report on the unfolding story, providing updates and insights from various political figures involved. The debate over Walz's military record is just one of many flashpoints in the current political landscape. This video aims to shed light on the controversy, presenting perspectives from both sides of the aisle. For more details and ongoing coverage, stay tuned to the Wake Up America show every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on current political events and other breaking news stories.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Glad to have you here. Don't forget to click that like button. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, the follow button as well. We're very grateful for our previous guest, Jake Duesenberg, for joining us on the show. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview. So you just watched the bonus content. For those who are tuning in and aren't familiar with the concept, every day I produce a little mini documentary. Typically, it's been about history or about some obscure libertarian political topic. But this week I decided to start taking things in a little bit of a different direction. So what I've decided to do for the bonus content on the Wake Up America show is that I'm going to start drilling down into the big news of the day to provide you with a little bit more background, a little bit more context, just like I said, a bit more of a deep dive on the big issues that are happening around the world. Sometimes I'll find something that might be a little bit more obscure and we won't necessarily be able to cover in a full segment of the show like we were today with Jake. And sometimes we'll talk about the big news in a little bit more of, I don't know, just entertaining or fun package way that I think you will enjoy. So the new direction for the bonus content will be to produce little mini documentaries about what's happening in the news today. So when you unlocked that content, you guys find out a little bit more background on whatever that news story is. My buddy just texted me, says, Tim Walz probably only has like 1,500 days in uniform in a duty status over those 24 years. Thanks, Matt. We appreciate that. Thanks for letting us know. You can text the show just like Matt at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open at 573-319-1586. And while the Tim Walz story might be the biggest story politically, this is the biggest story in the world.
And then another. And then another. And then another.
What the hell is that? That was Professor Dr. Ray Gunn performing their dance, for which she earned 0 points at the Olympics as a representative of Australia. And yeah, it was quite a performance, and everybody's talking and laughing about it this morning. I'm actually going to be on radio in South Texas today, in Louisiana and Mississippi, the Walton and Johnson radio show, to talk about this professor's viral performance at the Olympics. She wrote a thesis for this performance. Well, I did a reel about it. You can watch that.
So, Mansion, you from Australia, and you done lied on your Olympics application and said that you knew how to break dance. You seen some old 80s highlights and said, I could do that. Now you on the world stage with a golf outfit on, hyping yourself up in your head, talking about toe tap, hit him with the spin, climbing in the circle, hands on my chin. Bunny, rabbit, kangaroo, one of those two. I got moves, so what you gonna do? I'm a worm, y'all.
The person that you're watching do this in this video and debase herself is an Australian professor who actually wrote her thesis in breakdancing. Deterritorializing gender in Sydney's breakdancing scene, a B-girl's experience of B-boying.
Click that like button if you haven't already. Oh, but one of her teammates went out of the way to defend her after that performance went viral. She was quite disappointed and ashamed at the response from the international community from people like myself.
What I can say is that I love Rachel, and I think that what has occurred on social media with trolls and keyboard warriors and taking those comments and giving them airtime has been really disappointing. If you don't know Rachel's story, in 2008, she was locked in a room crying, being involved in a male-dominated sport as the only woman, and it took great courage for her to continue on and fight for her opportunity to participate in a sport that she loved, and that got her to winning the Olympic qualifying event to be here in Paris. She is the best breakdancer female that we have for Australia. Now you look at the history of what we have had as women athletes has faced in terms of criticism, belittlement, judgment, criticism.
See, if you're criticizing them, if they do a terrible job, you're not criticizing them, you're criticizing gender, right? They're not criticizing you because you suck. Of course, we are criticizing you because you suck, but now we're criticizing you for two reasons. We're criticizing you because, one, you suck, and two, because you had to make it about your gender. That's why we're criticizing you. We're not criticizing you because you're a woman. If you were an amazing breakdancing woman, and there are plenty of them out there, and they make a lot of money, trust me. If she was a great female breakdancer, the whole world, everybody would have loved to have seen it. Right? It wouldn't have been as big a story, right? Because we see great female breakdancers out there online every day. You want to see a great female breakdancer? Go on YouTube. They're there, right? But when you suck, and then you go out there and you say, well, we're attacking you because you're a woman, and then you say things like, I love Rachel. I love Rachel. She's lovely, right? Well, yeah, I get it. You love your partner, okay, right? You guys obviously are a couple, and this is about some queer theory that you want to advance. It's not about actually excelling in any kind of a sport, right? That's what this is. It's not about actually excelling or representing your country well. It's about your ideology, isn't right? Here she is qualifying. Here's her qualifying dance, okay? It's about what you would expect.
Show you.
So here's the thing about breakdancing. If you are good, right? If you are really tearing it up, look at the audience. Okay? There's a little girl there who's watching in front. Like, this is her idol. This is the best breakdancer in Australia. When you're killing it and you're doing a great job, people are going crazy. If you haven't seen Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, highly recommend 1980s movies Breakin' and Breakin' 2. But people go crazy when you're actually killing it. But this is Australia's best.
Reagan 2-1. Wow, it's tight. It came down to the last round. And look at going.
Reagan 2-1. It came down to the last round. That was the best that Australia had to show. So that's the one that really got me, is that, and then she throws it back again right there. It's like, apparently that's like a signature move because she's from Australia, but this was the signature move. Hold on. It's the kangaroo. Oh, there it is. Look at that. The kangaroo hop. There it is, guys. Yes. The kangaroo hop. Yes, she was seen later talking about that. And then another. Megatron, I can't get over that. Yeah, I'm going to be laughing about it all day. Oh, Fook says the kangaroo is an old Australian breakdance move. She wrote her PhD on it. Yes. Now, I saw this clip at a Walz Harris rally the other day. I heard it. Now you have to hear it.
Growing up, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher because I saw education for what it really was, the greatest instrument of social justice in this country.
Oh.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
There it is, right? They're openly admitting that our public education system is a public indoctrination system. Let's hear it one more time.
I always knew I wanted to be a teacher because I saw education for what it really was, the greatest instrument of social justice in this country.
Here it is. And that is how you know and why we believe that it's time to abolish the public education system entirely. Yes. I know. What about the kids? I have to explain it to people all the time. But all it is a leftist indoctrination center. It's not there to help teach the kids. It's to ensure that they come out being obedient NPCs. They want them to come out being little leftist, communist, social justice warriors.
It sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Let's start with abolishing the federal public education department. You'll love to see it. If you've been enjoying the show today, don't forget to click that like button. There were so many topics that I didn't get to this morning, but this one, I guess, is the one I'll have to end on. Tim Walz's masculinity is terrifying to Republicans. Yes, they're terrified. Are you guys scared? Kamala Harris's running mate has traditional manly man traits. He's also not frightened of women, afraid of black people, or terrified of the future. See, not being afraid of women is an accomplishment for Democrats because they are the party of men who are afraid of women. Yes. And who wouldn't be?
I can first. I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Any liberal Democrat whose resume includes football coach, military veteran, and sharpshooting hunter is a challenge to MAGA mythology, which posits that liberalism and feminism threaten traditional masculinity, so you'd better vote Republican before marauding Amazons take your endangered man card away. So are you admitting then, leftists, that being in the military, being a hunter, which I know you hate, and being a football coach, which I know you hate, is traditional masculinity, which I know you hate? So which is it, leftists? Is it that this is traditional masculinity, or is this toxic masculinity? Because I guarantee you this resume of football coach, military veteran, and sharpshooting hunter are what the left considers to be part and parcel of toxic masculinity. Yes. Check out the White Dudes for Donald Trump shirts, available exclusively for sale at forlibertyshop.com. Rock your identity. We're all just playing the race card this year. So just wear it on your sleeve or on your front. White Dudes for Donald Trump shirts, selling like hotcakes. Can't wait to see them out on the streets. You can also get a Black Dudes for Donald Trump shirts and watch the Democrats get racist in a hurry. Black Dudes for Donald Trump shirts, again, exclusively available at forlibertyshop.com. White Girls for Donald Trump as well. Did you like the designs? People were ripping these off immediately. As soon as I made these, I saw that the Chinese t-shirt sellers were ripping them off. White Girls for Donald Trump. Fook, you sent an email. Which email did you send it to, dude? Just let me know, because if there's a problem, we will fix it. Mexican Dudes for Donald Trump. Remember, that's a nationality, not an ethnicity. Jewish Dudes for Donald Trump. Do we need any more? What else should we have on there? The caveat is that if you suggest it, you have to buy it, okay? can get those at forlibertyshop.com, as well as all kinds of great patriotic merchandise, like the only good fed is belt fed, right? Or Reagan in the streets, Kennedy in the sheets, or 4 beers ago. Many of these designs as well we have on some of our most popular pocket tees. My pronouns are we the people, yes. Freedom Tour 1776. How to Spot a Communist, those are very popular. Trump parental advisory tees. Shut the hell up, Fed Boy, Friedrich Hayek shirts, as well as a whole bunch of stickers. We got a great deal going on with stickers. Buy 2, get 3 free. Get that sweet deal over at forlibertyshop.com. Exit through the Grift Shop. We'll see you guys here tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning the show. If you didn't click the like button, make sure you do that before you leave. And we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Bye, guys.
Accusations of stolen valor prompt battle between House veterans. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's military record has ignited a major partisan dispute in the House of Representatives. Republican veterans have accused Walz of misrepresenting his 24-year National Guard career and criticized his decision to leave just before his unit deployed to Iraq. Democratic veterans in Congress have defended Walz, citing his service past the 20-year retirement mark. They dismissed the GOP's accusations as baseless attacks. Repeater Mike Waltz, a former Green Beret, has been a leading voice against Walz, accusing him of misleading voters about his rank and abandoning his unit. Repeater Derek Van Orden, R-Wis, a retired Navy SEAL, echoed these sentiments, calling Walz's actions a cardinal sin and expressing concern over his potential role as vice president. The Harris campaign countered with support from Democratic military veterans, who praised Walz's service and dismissed the attacks as morally bankrupt. The controversy began with Sen. J.D. Vance, R. Ohio, accusing Walz of stolen valor. Vance highlighted his own service in Iraq, contrasting it with Walz's record. In response, Democratic Rapier Jason Crow criticized Vance for maligning Walz's service for personal gain. Walz served in the National Guard for 20 years, re-enlisting after the Sept, 11 attacks, and retired shortly before his unit was deployed to Iraq. Critics allege he left to avoid deployment, but supporters argue his decision to run for Congress was made before deployment orders. Crow also contrasted Walz's service with former President Trump, accusing Trump of dodging the Vietnam War draft. Walz's service record has not included deployment to a combat zone, unlike Vance, who served in Iraq in a non-combat role. There have been discrepancies about Walz's rank upon retirement. He was found to have incorrectly claimed to retire as a command sergeant major. The Harris-Walz campaign updated his biography to correct this. Walz's deployment history has also been a point of contention. He served in Italy in 2005 in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, but critics have accused him of implying he deployed to Afghanistan, which reports do not support. The Harris-Walz campaign has yet to provide further comments, while the dispute continues to draw significant media attention. The controversy underscores the highly charged political environment surrounding military service records. Fox News Digital continues to report on the unfolding story, providing updates and insights from various political figures involved. The debate over Walz's military record is just one of many flashpoints in the current political landscape. This video aims to shed light on the controversy, presenting perspectives from both sides of the aisle. For more details and ongoing coverage, stay tuned to the Wake Up America show every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on current political events and other breaking news stories.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP4Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at ap4libertyshop.com.